when the sounds have some effects, it seems it works good with this. We are here today to talk about this. It's the Suzuki QChord, which is the ridiculous sibling of the Omnichord series. If you know anything about the Omnichords, then you probably know that bands like the Gorillaz used to use them in songs. Basically, that's sort of how they got famous. They're considered an auto harp, which is really just a machine with chords built into it. They have a strum plate. You hold a chord, and then you strum the plate to play notes. Now this one has built-in rhythms that are very cheesy. This is supposed to be country. This is labeled dance. Oh, that's funky. You can actually turn that mode off. There we go. There's only about 10 sounds. They all just have that cheesy MIDI sound, so not much difference. The only one that's different is one labeled sound effects. There it is. It has these weird, like, there's a gun. Bird, water flowing. So yeah, weird. The thing with this is that it has terrible MIDI implementation, and people struggle to get it working on their DAW so that they can play virtual instruments on the computer. I found out how to do that. It's taken me like a year. Starting out, I'm just showing you guys this. This is a website for Pop's music, and he has like a fan club for the QChord. It's like a group of people who gather, and I love how he has a website. He's got this interesting picture of a clown holding one. It's kind of creepy, honestly, but it's pretty wild looking. I just thought this site was cool and interesting because it has this old advertisement for the QChord, and it kind of shows you how they were marketing it. They also have a little picture of it has cartridges you can slide into the end here. There's like a little door. I did a video last night, like a live video of all this. So this is meant to be a quick version of basically the long stream I did last night. So starting out, the main thing first that you need to focus on is, are you even getting MIDI messages from the device into your computer? Because you may have a chord or an interface that doesn't even work. I'll show you one that I ordered on Amazon that does not work. These MIDI to USB type chords, here's the end of it. It's got a USB-C adapter, and in the middle it's got a little thing with an LED light that says in and out, and then on the other end you've got your MIDI in and out connectors. You do not want to get one of these because not all of them work. In fact, I'm willing to estimate that most of them do not work. But this one, I had it hooked up and it's not sending any messages. But if I connect this to one of my MIDI keyboards back there or controllers, they work fine. So it's something to do with the QChord and these types of devices. They have built-in drivers, by the way. They don't work with the drivers. It sends no message. And the way you check that is this free app called PureData. You can see the logo or icon down there. But this is the app. When you first turn it on, you're going to need to have whatever interface you're using already installed, like the drivers have to be installed. Now, in my case, my MIDI cable did not work, so I unhooked it, and I have this Model 12 back here. That's a Tascam audio interface, but it also has MIDI as part of the interface. So I found that that works for me. And it has two options. If you're using the Model 12, select the one that just says Model 12 MIDI, not the other that says N2 or whatever. Just the generic one's better. Whatever interface you have, it should show up in that menu, which is under Media, MIDI settings. Select it for your input, and then go back to Media and do Test Audio and MIDI. So it's going to pop this up, and you want to look at this corner down here that says MIDI input monitor. Basically, it should have numbers moving if your device is actually getting MIDI in. If everything's 0 and this is not flashing where it says note on, then it's not working. And when I had that cable that I just showed you guys from Amazon hooked up, nothing was happening there. So lesson number 1, if you want this to work, is try not to use those generic USB to MIDI type cables. They just don't seem to work for this. You might get lucky, it might work. If you already have one, you may as well try it. But use this app, PureData app, to check. So watch when I strum. You can see on the MIDI in on the right there, where it says raw, you've got numbers coming in. Now on the left where it says note in, the reason that's flashing even when I'm not playing is because even if you're not in the rhythm mode that we heard the music on earlier, it's still sending the drum rhythm data on MIDI channel 10, and I suspect that's what that is. Once you get past the point of having for certain gotten the MIDI traveling into the computer, which we can see input is working, so MIDI is going in, the next thing you're going to need is a pack of MIDI tools called PitchBendToNotes plugins. You can see here they have a website. Now that website is old, and I think someone else is hosting the tools now. I will put the link to where you can actually get the tools in this video description so you can get them. If possible, I'll even Google Drive the 2 that you need, because you only need 2 of these tools. It's a whole toolkit. I'm actually going to show you guys the folder. So if you look right, oops, you should be able to see, yeah. If you look here, these are all the tools. They're DLL files. That's what most VSTs come as. So there's a million of them. You don't really need them all. So sorry to confuse you guys. You only need one called MIDI CHS, and I moved it into my VST folder. Okay, let's see if it's this one. Yes. Okay, so for me, it's under C drive, program files, VST plugins. For me, yours might be different, and you have to tell your DAW where to find these. In my case, I'm going to be using Reaper, by the way, as my DAW. But the 2 that you need from PitchBendToNotes plugin pack is MIDI CHS _ no GUI and MIDI PitchBendToNotes. That's to filter, because you're going to have to filter channels 14, 15, and 16 from the MIDI on the QChord. And then you need PitchBendToNotes because the QChord sends its MIDI data to channel 1 and pitch bends them. It's really weird, but this fixes that and converts the pitch bends back into notes. That's all you need to know, really. These 2 basically take the screwed up MIDI data that the QChord sends, and they filter it into what you need it to be to play actual notes and instruments. That's all this is for, but you're going to have to use these. It won't work otherwise. You can try just hooking it up, and all it will do is play C notes that are pitch bent in a weird way, so it won't work if you just hook it up and try to play it. So that's the reason this took me so long to get it working. But you just need to put those in the correct VST folder, and then in your DAW, you're going to have to tell it where to find those. So here is Reaper. Let's imagine you're just trying to get this work. You just downloaded Reaper. By the way, Reaper's free for 60 days, and they don't enforce paying for it. You just have to wait a minute at the login. If I were to use it for other things, I would pay for it, but I'm just using it for this temporarily. Okay, so, and by the way, I tried to get this working in FL Studio and Ableton Live, and I couldn't figure it out. There's probably a way to do it. I just don't know it. So I would advise at least trying it in Reaper first to make sure your device even works. So first thing you're going to want to do is go to Preferences. Let me put my headphones on, but you will need to have audio out set up so that you can hear, what you're playing. In my case, I'm just setting it to headphones out since I've got the headphones on. Now, under MIDI devices, you'll need to find your MIDI device, like the drivers and everything. In my case, all we need to have on is that MIDI 12 or Model 12 MIDI. The other one, just leave it off if you're doing this with the Model 12. Now that USB cord I had, that's what it was labeled as, was USB MIDI interface. Now that's not hooked up right now, but that's still in the menus. So yours may show up as a generic USB MIDI interface. You can try getting it to work. But like I said, I've already got it activated for the Model 12, which is what our MIDI is going into from the QChord to the Model 12 to the computer. So that's just already set up. All right, so let's assume you went into Reaper. You set up in preferences your MIDI device, which we already did. The next thing you're going to want to do is to insert a new track, which is Control T, or you can right click and click it there. And that's the new track. All you need to do is arm it with this red button here. Don't click the one down here. That's to actually start recording. This just arms the track. Once you arm it, you'll see these two things pop up. And under the larger one that says Input 1, you click the drop down and you should see your MIDI device in there, which here's my Model 12 device. And you just want it to be set to all channels. Once you do that, you should see these yellow bars. That's MIDI data. That's not audio data. The audio data will show up behind those as a different color bar. So that's good. That means it's picking up that channel 10 rhythm data that's always sending in the background. So that means, yes, we've got MIDI in here. Now all we need to do is filter that MIDI properly, which is under the effects button here. Don't click that power button. That's for the window. Just click effects for the first time. And you're going to need to navigate to where your VSTs that you installed are. I'm talking about the PIS MIDI tools. For me, it's under plain just VST. And you kind of have to look for them, but here they are. There's the two that we need. First one you're going to use is MIDI CHS _ no GUI. So you can double click it or click add to add it. This is your effects window. It's basically going to put VSTs and effects all in here. And the order you place them in is how it activates them. So that's good. We want it to activate them in a certain order. So all you need to do under this is slide these, everything to 0 except for 14, 15, and 16. You can just click on the end to slide them over. So leave those three, the 14, 15, and 16 as they are. And the bottom two options, just don't touch those either. So we're ready to go there. And now we need to click add down here again. And we want to add the MIDI PitchBendToNotes tool. And on that one, it's already set up properly by default. It's just powered on and it's set to channel 1, which is exactly what you want. And after that, you just add whatever VST you want to play. So last night when I was live, I tested out FM8, Pigments, and a guitar app. So let's start with FM8. So it should, if this is all set up properly, play that sound through the MIDI by strumming here. Oh wait, let me turn the sound. You do need to turn the sound off or the volume off on the device, but you should hear it. Yeah. There we go. So you can hear, you probably can't see my other hand, it's kind of out of frame, but I'm pressing different chord buttons up here and that changes what chord notes the strum plate can play. There you go. You can kind of hear the difference. The only thing I don't think I've figured out yet that there are settings you have to set up for is the pitch bend wheel down here. You're able to wobble it with your finger. I don't think, yeah, see, it's not wobbling. It's not pitch bending. And that's probably because the workaround to get this functioning is to convert the pitch bending into the notes that you're hearing. So you may not be able to use it. Let's just pick another sound for fun. We now know that it's definitely working. When the sounds have some effects, it seems it works good with this. I'm not even touching it and it's still going. We are redlining on the volume. Sorry if I blew your ears off. Is this volume right here? No, that's wetness. Okay. I don't see the volume though. Is this it? Oh, there we go. I might turn it down a bit so I don't blow your ears off. But yeah, if you know chords that work well together, it can sound really beautiful. Something I was saying last night when I was talking about it is that it's really hard to just hit one or two notes. Like you have to just barely touch. And you often don't know exactly what note you're going to get. So you can't really play like individual notes with any certainty of what's going to come out. Like it's generally going to go up and down some scale of whatever chord you're hitting, but it's not precise. Like, okay, let's say I wanted... What? See, I was trying to hit the same three notes over and over and it started wobbling to another note. It's just really hard. But I think this really is meant to be just strummed a lot. You can do like a half strum or like a little short one. See, you can start getting beautiful sounds. And I think the thing for me is that when I found this, it was at a Guitar Center marked down really cheap. And I had no clue what the hell it was. I just got it because it was cheap, and I thought if I didn't like it, it would probably be easy to resell. Little did I know that it probably won't be easy to resell. But, then I discovered how hard it was to get MIDI working. I was just sort of inspired by how strange it looked, and I got it and then discovered all this about it. The more popular ones are the Omnichords. This is actually the last model in that line, so this one's actually considered more high-tech than the others, but they just did terrible MIDI implementation. It has more chords, I believe, on this one too than the others. But yeah, it seems to have more options. It's got all that rhythm stuff, but I don't want the rhythms. I don't want those cheesy MIDI, country rhythms or whatever. I just wanted to be able to play VST synths by strumming. And as you could hear, that you can get some beautiful sounds with it. It's definitely going to always sound like strumming though. You can only sort of get individual notes and like smaller melodics. So I'm on the fence about it. Last night I was saying I don't really like it that much, but as I'm playing now, when I have a good preset, like a synth sound that works well with it, it actually sounds pretty good to me. And if I learn to set up pitch bend and stuff like that, I'm sure you could get, beautiful sounds. That strumming type sound, that harp type sound is more unique than some of the stuff I can play on the keys back there. You could get the same sound with keys, but you would have to like spread your fingers across like 30 keys, like, cause it's skipping. Let me see if you can see it. Yeah, see that? It's skipping like a whole octave. Let me try that again. Oh, it kind of goes back a key. Yeah. That is some interesting... That's cool. Okay, so you can... I don't know if you guys saw the keys hitting down there. Also, if I use two fingers, look at how many notes it's kind of jumping around. That's another cool thing. You can use two fingers at once. I think once you get to 3, it can't handle all that data, but you can at least do 2 at once if you're trying to get interesting sounds. The other thing I envisioned with this was using a guitar to get that strumming effect. But in this realistic guitar app, you'll find that it's heavily dependent on the settings. Pure Harmonic, Sun Lake. Let's try Sun Lake. Now this one doesn't have the palm mutes, which is when you kind of slap the guitar strings in real life. On here, the velocity can affect palm mutes and things like that and squeals. But luckily on this preset, all they have is sustain, which is what you want. Well, it's actually not working how I thought it would. It's just, yeah, it's not working at all. I'm tapping. Now if I hold it, you can hear. It's still palm, it's doing what I call a palm mute, where it kind of like stops. Yep, let's try a different one. Let's try Crunchy. How about Juggernaut? This is actually meant to be a bass guitar too. It has like 8 strings. Yeah, it's like I said, it's kind of wonky. It does, because this app is built for keyboards. So, you know, I'm not using a keyboard. I'm using this weird auto heart device. Yeah, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work the way I want. I envisioned like strumming and having this long reverbed out, you know, string setting. You also had to add that though. I would have to add effects. But anyways, I think overall, it's pretty cool with the right app. I also tried Pigments last night. There's Pigments. Let's see. So yeah, that's really it. Once you get it into your DAW and you can run it through a VST, that's all you need. You can do whatever you want after that with sound. So yeah, I'm still debating if I want to sell it or not. I'm jobless right now and my rent is $1,600 a month, so I may have to sell it just to survive. But it's such a unique device. And by the way, if you're wanting an Omnichord or a QChord, and you don't want to pay the crazy prices they're fetching online because they're sort of collector's items due to the bands like Gorillaz using them, they are about to release a new model. It's like 100-year anniversary for Suzuki. So they're working on releasing a new one. It's coming out next year. It was actually supposed to come out this fall, but they pushed it back to 2024. So if you want one, but you want it to be easier to use with modern technology, if you just wait, they are going to release them. But if you want this one, maybe I'll put it up on eBay or Reverb because I need the cash. But we'll see about that. But yeah, so that's it. The setup's not as bad as you would think. It's just figuring out how to get it all running that was such a problem for me. Because I didn't even know that Omnichord wasn't working until I used the PureData app to figure that out. And by the way, PureData is free, and also Piz MIDI tools are free. So you don't have to pay anything to get those. And Reaper is free for the first 60 days. So running this through Reaper, for me, is the only way I could figure it out. I tried in other apps. You can get it running in other apps, I'm pretty sure. It's just I don't know how to do this in them. I don't know how to filter the MIDI through those tools and then into a VST. It just works easier in Reaper for me. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully this helped you guys, and I will be making new crazy experimental music videos with weird devices like this and sounds that are weird. So look forward to that. I miss when my channel was focused on music. For whatever reason, I just always get sidetracked with other things like streaming games and shit. But I think we should get back into music. Creative things are better for you than spending your life on a video game, right? So look forward to that in the near future. I will see you guys later for now, though.